Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 88th episode of Stories of Service, ordinary people who do extraordinary work. And I am the host of Stories of Service, Teresa Carpenter. And today we have another amazing guest. And I always love it when I have guests that are in a expertise space and not necessarily ones who have served in the military. So I am not just a military podcaster. I do have people on who are in other fields. And today that is exactly what I have. So, Natalia, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing great. So happy to be here with you and with the audience.
Awesome. Well, we are so happy to have you. And I just can't wait to get into some of these topics because, as I said in my show notes, this has been a topic that I struggled with finding love for quite a number of years. It was something that eluded me. I was not one of those as a teenager who had the date for the prom or was able to get involved in long term relationships. I didn't have some sweet love story as a child that I could reflect back on as my early love. But instead, I was always drawn to these unstable bad boys. And I
Mhm.
really had a pattern where I would either be attracted and drawn to somebody who didn't want me, or I would have a best friend male who I wasn't really an equal with. And I hate to use the word beta male, but that's usually what people understand.
Wow.
And either way, I was hurting somebody. I was hurting myself by going for the bad boys, but then I was hurting these poor guys who would stick around with me in the hopes that it would turn into a relationship. But I had no intention of doing that. I just wanted the companionship. So that's why I say in my show notes, I'm so passionate on people like Natalia, who's in the healing space, and she
Mhm.
focuses on those specific areas that sometimes only women may need help with. And as I said in the show notes, for the men, there's a lot of wonderful healing coaches out there. There's a gentleman who does a mindfulness practice, and I do intend to have some of those experts on as well. And
Wonderful.
and similar to tackling, I think, problems that people don't like to talk about, this is one of them, but we must talk about how women can find healthy love. And Natalia helps us find the way.
Mhm.
Natalia Murua supports women who are successful in their lives, yet anxious in love to vanish the barriers, keeping them single so they may create a lifetime of real love and intimacy with an amazing man with grounded confidence and clarity. She helps women reignite the fun in dating while teaching them the tools, skills, and abilities to open up their hearts again so they may attract amazing quality men while standing in their feminine power. I love that.
Oh,
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you. I love
So,
to be here.
first off, I really just want to kind of get into, I know you're from Argentina. So, tell me a little bit about your background, how your childhood was, and what sort of got you on this path to what you're doing today.
Yes, I was born and raised in Argentina from a family of Italian immigrants. So my family originally is from Italy. And why I say that, it's because Italians can be very passionate and very energetic and very strong minded. So that's pretty much my culture. That's the way I grew up. I grew up with a family that was super, super strong. Women were super strong, men were super strong, everybody was strong. And I was a very sensitive child.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, or fortunately, because thanks to that is who I am today, but they didn't see me. So they walked all over me. I was the classic doormat. On top of that, a middle child, an older sister, and a younger sister. So the dynamics in my family were not ideal. My mom and dad loved each other to pieces. They did, but they really didn't have idea how to relate, which,
Hmm.
it was chaos, constant, constant chaos, which made me, as a very young child, shut down. I
Right.
sh- got, I wouldn't speak. I wouldn't, I didn't have a say in my family. It was, you said you grew up with a military, with a very strong mom. Uh,
Yes.
you said
Yes.
that,
My mother was very, very strong. She was very much in charge. She everything, what she said goes. My brother once said it was like my mom was the sun and everybody around just revolved around whatever she did. We lived, eat, and breathed whatever her schedule was.
Right. It was very similar for me. My mom was very strong, and what led me to, as I said, to be very, very shut down. I was
Mhm.
always, in my own corner, trying to not make waves
Right,
because any minimum, it didn't take much to make waves. So, and making waves meant being physically abused, emotionally abused, verbally abused. That was the environment I grew up in. So when I was about 14 years old, I had something happened. I started to go and have sleepovers at my friends' houses.
right.
And all of a sudden, I saw that there was another way of living life.
I can so relate to this. Yes.
I remember vividly one time I am sleeping at my best friend's house, and her mom, comes to me and says, Natalia, what kind of oil you want in your salad? I know it's a very simple thing, but I was like, what? Do I have a say in somebody is interested in knowing about me, what I want, what I don't want?
Right.
Pinch me.
Yeah.
I, and that woke up a burning, burning desire on me on doing life in a different way. I knew at 14 years old that the woman I was becoming, the young woman I was becoming, I didn't like it because I was modeling my family.
Right.
So when I saw another reality, I decided to take it up on myself to educate myself in this area of emotional intelligence and relationships and friendships. And I was living in a very small town in the middle of nowhere in developing Argentina, in a town where we didn't even have a movie theater.
Oh my god.
Right. So the only thing I had were books. So I started reading. And I
Mhm.
read a book the first book I ever read was a book called Love by he passed unfortunately, but he was super, super famous American psychiatrist called Leo Buscaglia. And that opened up the door to more reading. And, I started to develop and little by little see a different way of being. I ended up going to live in my house. When I was 18, I moved to the big city to study psychology. And that was, opened up my mind to neurology, to all the different kinds of psychology, philosophy. I was reading about 10 hours a day and I loved it. And and that became also after a few years, I hired a personal yoga teacher without knowing that that relationship was going to expose me to all the Eastern philosophies. And I got deep into that. I learned all about the Eastern philosophies. So, as you can see, I was an intellectual. I had
Mhm.
a lot of knowledge and my life was still a mess.
Oh
I was
god.
still looking for happiness. I was still looking for, that peace. I was still looking for freedom. And even when I knew more than anybody else I knew, besides my professors at university and my yoga teacher, about how the mind works, what makes human ticks, biology, neurology, everything,
Mhm.
anthropology, name it. What didn't I know about it? I couldn't figure it out. I
And I
also,
think sometimes we intellectualize some of these issues instead of understanding that there's this trauma and there's these deep feelings that are not that you haven't truly processed or moved through. But instead we want to just get to the root of them and we want to know why we're feeling this way. And I think that's what leads to all the books. because I did the same thing. For years, I read books about codependency, about
Right.
attachment disorder, and other things. And very quickly, I just want to sidebar with somebody who said the title of the show projects the idea that single women are broken or there's something wrong with being a single woman. And I want to just address that and say the reason I titled the show the way I did is because Natalia's work is about dating. And so a lot of the people that she's seeing are single women. So when I said I help single women heal, I meant to say her work is centered on helping women who are in need of help, who are single, heal. So I hope that helps explain. And I'll, of course, answer the comment if you're not listening anymore. But um, back to our, back to what you were saying. Yes, it's like that feeling where you're just trying so hard to find out why you are the way you are. Is that sort of what how you felt what you were doing?
Right. And what I ended up discovering when I moved to the States and I discovered coaching was that we all have a sense of identity. And even though I was trying and I was studying and I was learning and I was doing all these things, my environment kept bringing me back to where they wanted me to be, which for them, I was the Natalia that was, too abused.
Right.
So I
That's very
remember,
real.
right. So when I came to the States on my late 20s, that was the biggest. I came here to the United States 21 years ago with $750 in my pocket, and I didn't speak the language.
Wow.
You are forced to see who you are. There is no way to escape. You cannot escape unless you do, drugs, alcohol, whatever. But if you don't, there is no way to escape who you truly are. So, in that, facing myself every day, I had so many choices to make. I could be anything, I could do anything I wanted. And every day, my choices will be like, wow, Natalia, you are an amazing human being. And I say this in a humble way. I really believe I'm still a work in progress. But I realized changing environment dramatically and putting myself in a situation where I could have gone so many ways that even though I was the first few months, I was buying my clothing because I had two pieces of, I brought two suitcases and they were winter clothing because I come from Argentina where it's cold and I moved to Miami area. So I didn't have clothing. So I was going to the Goodwill to buy clothes. Even when I was doing that, I still had something to give. And the first thing I did when I moved here was I got a library card so I could get books to learn English. And I discovered that what my environment was telling me wasn't the truth. And I got to see myself for the first time naked, but not naked without clothing. Naked, really, I got to see my soul, my being, the true Natalia. And that was a big first step. Now, the second step I took once I got my, I went to school and, and I got a job and all that, I discovered coaching. And I went on a retreat for 4 days with 200 other people where we were coached by a couple of coaches on pretty much it's a big base of what I do now today to really see what are the barriers that are blocking us to live the life we want to live. There is a transformation that has to happen at the beginning. And I had a huge awakening. And what I discovered that long weekend was that something that is thrown on Instagram left and right, I discovered 20 years ago that information doesn't equal transformation.
You're right. Information does not equal transformation. You think when you've educated yourself about all this, you're going to have a breakthrough, but you don't.
You don't. It takes something else. It takes really seeing your, what I called, your blind spots.
Mm,
Those spots that we cannot see and that they are ruling our life. Our
yeah.
unconscious mind is ruling most of our daily life. We believe we are making decisions from a conscious mind, and some of them are, but most people are living their life based on a program that was installed usually at a very young age. And that was exactly what I was doing. And I was in my head. I was totally, totally in my head. My identity was, you are an intellectual, you know it all, da 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 da. And when I moved to the States, I was nobody.
Right.
Nobody.
Mm. And it's so tough, Natalia, because even though you might know that you're being guided by your unconscious and you know you're doing things that are unhealthy, we keep doing them over and over again. I mean, I can't tell you how many poor relationship decisions or even trusting the wrong people. I mean, I even do a little bit of that today. I'm so much better about it than I was years ago, and I've enhanced or I've refined this emotional intelligence to be a little less trusting of certain people and more trusting of others. But it is, like you said, a work in progress, because I think that our unconscious, or as my therapist says, it's like it's this default condition that we all have. And if you've had a lot of trauma, I find that you sort of default to those habits and those things that you do that are unhealthy, and you have to fight to overcome them and be conscious of the times that, and be aware of when you're doing those things.
Right, right. And I would like to say something about trauma because there may be a lot of women that are listening or watching this podcast, and they are like, I didn't have trauma. I had a great childhood. Nothing happened to me. And there are two different kinds of trauma, and they both impact the way, the meaning we give to life, the perception that we have about life, about what is possible, about what is not possible, about who we are, and it gives us our identity. One kind of trauma is trauma with big T. And that kind of trauma is pretty much what you went through and what I went through. It's deep abuse.
Yeah,
It's
they call it complex trauma. That's what my psychologist called it. And it's basically a series of events that are prolonged over years and years of time.
right. It's when, yes, it's when it breaks something on us. It keeps coming, it keeps
It's
coming, it
happening
keeps
over and
coming,
over again.
and it breaks something on us. Now, there is another kind of trauma that is trauma with little t. And those are little things because we need to remember that now we are wise, experienced women. We have all our, all our life to go back and find evidence of how the world works. We are resourceful, we are capable. But when we are, from the age we are babies until we are teenagers, actually, on paper, our brain is developing up until our 20s. So when we are 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, our brain is not fully developed. When we are 4 years old, we believe literally in Santa Claus, and we do believe it. We believe in
That's a great point. Yeah.
something very small that happens to a girl that is 4 years old. It could be something so simple as she cut her finger playing, and she went running to her mom, crying. and the world is revolving around her.
Of
She's
course.
center of the universe at that
Yep.
point. And she goes running to her mom, and her mom is a super loving, nurturing, assertive woman. She's a great woman. But at that precise moment, she's talking on the phone with her mom, and her mom is she's having a problem. And she said, okay, Natalia, okay, later.
Mhm.
She doesn't even look at her at that moment. That can be a deep traumatic moment for a young mind that cannot separate
Mhm.
self from others, is in the process of, that cannot realize that what other people do doesn't have anything to do with her. It's
Right.
in the reflection. So we make decisions in those moments. My moment was when I was 6 years old, and my parents changed me to another school, and my sweet dad, dropped me off at this brand new school, and I am, standing in line, before getting in the class with all the kids, and I was kind of like in the middle, and I am crying and crying, and my dad is over there looking at me, and he's leaving me there. And what I made it mean is, what am I doing wrong? And that gave me an identity. And through years and years and years, that was my identity. So anything that will happen, instead of thinking, okay, instead of assessing the whole spectrum of the event and saying, what else could this mean? I immediately, unconsciously,
Yep.
made it mean that I have done something wrong. So that gave me the behavior that ruled my first
Yes.
3 decades of life, of overdoing and taking responsibility for every mistake that other people were doing,
Yeah.
because it was always about me. So it wasn't until I did the work and that I started to see these blind spots on me. Another big one that I discovered, one of my limiting beliefs was, I am not loved. I will never be loved.
Yeah, I had that one too.
And that gives us a way of being in the world where the first men that looked at us, we get in an immediate relationship, because we are like, oh my God, well, if this guy wants me, it's better than nothing, because
Right.
why am I going to go for what I really want if I am not loved, if I am not worth it of being loved? So these are deep, deep things that are ruling our life. And what people don't understand is that these meanings we give to the events that happen to us are giving us a way of being in the world, even as adults, unless we take a look and transform them. And that's the first part of my work. That's what, when you say she helps heal, yeah, that's the first part. Now, transformation, remember, information doesn't mean transformation. Now, transformation, this is a deeper level that I discovered on my 30s. Transformation doesn't equal results in the world. Because when we are in that trapped in that cycle of unworthiness, let's call it that,
Mhm.
we are not learning the skills and the capacities to be in a healthy, successful relationship.
No,
We are trapped in an unhealthy pattern.
we
So
are.
that's the second part of my work is transformation, bringing it up. We shifted from negative to positive, and then we learn all the skills and the abilities that ensure that my clients are fit to stay in an amazing relationship with a guy.
Right, because and I think I saw this in some of your, videos, you really do have to put yourself in a state of transformation before that person's going to come along. Because what will happen is, if you're in that sad, feeling sorry for myself, I'm worthless kind of state, the only people that are going to be drawn to you, as you, and I think you said it in a video, are like the sharks.
I
The
know, I
people
know.
who
That's the feeling I got.
the people who prey on people who are weak. And it isn't until you, like you said, you stand in your power and you say, I got this, and you're confident in that, people start to treat you differently, because you've acquired this kind of confidence about yourself, and that you know that no matter what, you're going to figure it out. And it took me years. I was the same way as you in my 30s, just wanting to get to that place of transformation, but I was still tied down to somebody that I wasn't going in the same direction with. And I knew that there was more out there that I was capable of, but I didn't have the right partner, and I wasn't comfortable enough being alone to face myself.
Right.
And until I was able to face myself alone, I was never going to find the kind of partner that I have now. I would have never found my husband, because it sucked being alone. It was miserable. It was lonely, but I had to do it, because otherwise I wouldn't have changed, and I wouldn't have started doing those behaviors that you have to do to attract healthy men, like not sleep with them immediately.
Right.
You can't do those things and then think that you're going to, I mean, maybe there's some exceptions to the rule, but normally going too fast with someone is not going to lead to a healthy partner.
Well, if you allow me to say something, you can do that. I am not the. I like to, it's case by case, and we are all different. So you could.
You can. There are people who have done it and have stayed successful in their relationship by doing it. I agree. That's
It's
fair.
the intention, and so if the intention when a woman is sleeping with the guy right away is to enjoy herself
And have fun.
and
That's
have
true.
fun, perfect. Now, if the intent, what happens is that a lot of times we have sex with men thinking that number one, if we say no, they're going to stop.
They're going to stop and move on to the next woman.
Yes. Or
Yep.
number two, that having sex with us will make them somehow
fall in love.
Yes. So that's the mistake. Now, I have to say something to that. I'm going to take it to a deeper level. And it's that out of the many, 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 many thousands of women I have talked in these 30 plus years, I can count maybe with this hand the women that can have sex with a guy that they like just for pleasure and not get attached.
Interesting.
It just doesn't happen. And they fight me. I have clients that are like, no, it's
well, I know. Women love to say they can do this. And so do men.
They call them toy boy. It's my toy boy. Da-da-da. And I'm like, you are playing with fire. And then a couple of months later, they're crying because he didn't call them for her birthday. And I'm like, he doesn't have to call you for your birthday, because the relationship you have is you are having sex.
Right.
That's it. If there is not an agreement of something else, making assumptions, it's a direct trip to pain land.
Absolutely. And I did it for years, and it would always lead to me being disappointed. It hurt, but then I just kept doing it over and over again, because I didn't think that a man would want me otherwise. I didn't think that I would be able to attract the kind of partner that I have now with Harry. I didn't think I'd be able to have a guy like him. I didn't think a guy like him would go for me unless I slept with him immediately.
Right.
And looking back on that, it's so bizarre. I mean, but it was because I didn't have the courage to stand in what I finally did in my late 30s. And in my late 30s, I set about dating And it's funny because Laura's watching the show right now, and she was the one who really helped me. We're both in our single women in our 30s, mid to late 30s, and she found her husband before I found mine, but she did the same thing. She went through a very intentional process to date. And she taught me a lot about it. There was a book she told me to read called "It's Just a Fucking Date," or I'm sorry to cuss on my own show, but it was just a really good book about being very open in the dating process. And she
Right.
even says here, really great show, Teresa. I love the point that information does not equal transformation. So very true. Thank you for this conversation. And Laura has been
Oh,
my friend for, I think, over a decade. And we talk about these kinds of issues all the time. So thanks,
oh,
Laura, for joining us.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. So absolutely, Natalia. It is one of those things where if you don't get this right, you will be on a path of self destruction, not only with your love life, but you'll be on a path of self destruction in your relationships at work. You'll be on a path of self destruction with your friendships, with your origin family. I mean, it's so much more than finding love. Finding love is usually like, for me anyway, it was the first thing I had to get right. And because I had the career, I was able to just hang on by a thread and get through the career and do what I needed to make the money and to promote, because that was kind of like my drug was success. But I could not nail down that love life. It was just like it eluded me. I was so lost. It's like, where were you? But it was so hard for so long. And I just kept doing the same thing over and over again and thought I'd get something different by doing it.
Right, and that's another point that I would like to talk. Mostly answering the lady that says that there is nothing wrong with women, and I truly, truly agree with her. I There is one of my foundations for my coaching. One of my ethos is there is absolutely nothing wrong with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. Yes, there is nothing wrong with them. They just haven't had either good role models growing up. So they maybe had a mother that wasn't, nurturing, assertive, and good at business. Maybe she was very good at making money, but she wasn't very loving and nurturing and assertive. And that shapes the way we are. Or maybe their dad was either absent, and that will steer us in one direction, or the dad was there, but he was overprotective. So it
Mhm.
kept the woman as a girl. It didn't allow for the girl to be promoted to a woman. So that's very important to understand that lack of role models growing up are very, very important. And it doesn't have anything to do with us being broken or that there is anything wrong with us. It's just that if we look at our lives and we see that in the area of love and relationships, we are not where our heart yearns to be,
Right.
some work to be done. That's it. It's the same
That's
thing
it.
with having a few extra pounds. We don't go into, oh my God, there is something wrong. I'm broken if I have to lose weight. We just do what we have to do. The point with relationships is that women, we shame ourselves a lot around this subject because we are completely and 100% identified with our love life. Our partner, besides, our parents, as adults, our partners, is the most important person we are going to ever choose. So there is a lot of pressure on it, and we shame ourselves a lot around that subject. If I were a marketing coach and I tell you, Teresa, your message, you could really polish your message a little bit. You are talking to military women and you're not speaking their language. So do A, B, and C and speak their language so you are going to be able to connect with them more. And you're going to be like, okay, let's do it.
Mhm. Yep.
if I tell you, Teresa, what's happening is that there is something going on. There is a blockage that you have that is giving you a way of being that is not connecting with the right quality of men. And there is A, B, C, and D that you can do in order to set the record straight. You are going to feel deeply touched in a negative. You are going to be
Oh
sad.
yeah, you're gonna feel attacked, and
Yes,
because it's something about you, the core of who you are
right,
is if you and I mean the thing that's sad about this is that there are women who are single and decide not to find a partner, and they are perfectly happy.
right,
I've met a lot of them in the animal advocacy world, single women who surrounded themselves with other single women. They had close family ties, and that eluded me too. I was kind of like, how are they so happy and they don't have a partner? Like it just didn't, because I was so defined in my mind by having a partner. And
right,
so that was a foreign concept to me as well. And so even back to the person who said, it did my title. And if that was offensive, I do apologize. That wasn't what I was trying to go after. What I was trying to do is tune in on who your audience is and who are the people you are helping. But I can see that there is a stigma that even a single woman who's happy and who doesn't struggle with these issues sometimes is stigmatized because of the fact that they're defined by their marriage or their children and other things that I think men aren't as defined by.
right. Absolutely, absolutely. So, and then there is another kind of women that I work with that literally they grew up in a great family. They had great role models. They support them through and through to follow their dreams. They were great students. They were on, they had activities after school. They were very driven women that wanted to do a lot with their lives, and their environment was very supportive and very nurturing and very loving. Now, those women, what happened with those women that hire me, when they hire me when they're in the late 20s or 30s, is they usually come to me brokenhearted, because what happens in that case is they didn't have experience when it comes to vetting. You understand vetting a man?
Okay, okay, yeah.
A man. So,
They didn't
the-
see the red flags that maybe
right.
somebody who's not as trusting might see.
And a lot of men are really good for a while. So these women, they were caught and they married a man that was wonderful for a year or so.
Mhm. Right.
And then it showed the real face. They're either after the money, or they were abusive, or they had deep, deep, deep health issues that they didn't want to do anything about it, because we can have health issues and be happily married with the man of our dreams. It's all about what we do with it. So I want to say that, because they can come, there is a lot of things that I can say that can be misunderstood, because
Mhm.
so it's such a triggering subject, my subject. And that's why I love doing it, because this is it.
Oh, it
If
is.
we get
It
our
really
love
is.
life right, our whole life transforms. You tell me how your bedroom experience is right now, and I will tell you how your health is, how your bank account is, how your other relationships are. It connects all to that, because it's our sense of worth. It's if somebody that really, really has a burning desire for a deeply loving relationship with the right man, if she cannot figure it out how to be in that experience, there is something blocking her.
I agree. I
That's it.
100% agree
So,
with
but,
you.
but these other women that I'm talking about, what they need is to learn how to vet a man and how to date. They don't know how to date. So that's another kind of women that I work with. It's not all, doing the deep, deep work. They may have some things to work on, but basically, women, another barrier that we face is that we as women, most of us, have the belief that knowing how to be in a healthy, fulfilled, intimate, connected relationship with a great man comes with our DNA. And it doesn't.
No, it
It's
doesn't.
a learned skill as much
It is
as
a learned skill. I would agree, and it takes work. It
it takes
takes
work,
work.
right? But
Mhm.
it's not it takes work with the Bible, the Bible definition of work when God, I don't know if you're,
No.
but when God kicked Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden, one of the things he told them is, you are going to make money. Pretty much, you're gonna gain your bread with the sweat of your brow. Like, they were going to have to work really hard for what they wanted. That was one of the bad things that were happening from disobeying God. So I
Mhm.
don't want to give that meaning. It's a lot of fun, and I help them to transform that from being, oh, it's work. It has a negative connotation. It's work, and we
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
do it.
I guess I just mean that I think it's one of those things where it's the most thrilling thing that you can have. A healthy relationship is one of the most thrilling and
Right,
wonderful and just deep level thing. But in order to be that person and be your best self in that relationship, that's where the work comes in, because especially for, I think, somebody like myself who spent a lot of time alone, spent a lot of times being single, you get really used to that feeling. And now you are compromising and you are doing things for the good of the relationship that you just never had to do, but now you are doing because the feeling and the partnership and the team and the thing that you're building with this person, it makes you want to do it. It makes you
right,
want to grow together and to be better people as you move forward in life. So you're right. It's the one thing that none of us, I think, can cannot get right if that's what we want. And again, not all women want this, not all men want this, but for the ones that do want to find that partner,
right.
um, sometimes we just need people like yourself to help us along the way. So tell me a little bit about how your coaching business works. I know we have about maybe 10 more minutes, and I want to kind of get into that and talk a little bit about what it is, how it is you work with people.
Well, I mentioned it a little bit already here and there. The process goes from, it's one on one. I work for a year, one on one with women only. I only work with women. And I do get a lot of women asking me if I can work with her and her husband. My particular answer is no, I don't do that. And the reason why I don't do it is because I believe that if we change, if we transform, if we shift the way of our story, our beliefs, our fears as women, and we learn the skills and the abilities to be in a successful relationship, 99.9% of men respond to that, aligning to that.
Hmm. For
They
sure.
don't have to do anything. We take responsibility for our relationships and we do the work. So there is that. I work with women only for that reason. And I do have some amazing male coaches that I refer men to, because they also, if they want to do the work, it's available for them, but I don't do it. And the way it works is through three different pillars. One pillar is transformation, and those are the one on one coaching sessions that these ladies have with me. And I truly believe in that one on one, because when we can be in a group setting if it's about business, if it's about health, if it's about I don't know, money.
Leadership skills or yeah.
When it comes to relationships, it's such a deep and intimate issue that if I put them in a group setting, some of them are not going to participate. They will
Yeah, they
make
want to be vulnerable.
so that's the reason they cannot elude me. And during those weekly sessions, we transform anything that shows up, any limiting belief, any fear, any obstacle that they may have. And then the second pillar is, so that's transformation. The second pillar is accountability and support. They have access to me every day of the week as much as they want. And I keep them accountable and I keep them focused. And when they run into, I don't know, they send me screenshots from what the guy said, or they send me a voice message saying, hey, this happened. I don't know what to answer, or blah, blah, blah. Or they're like, I don't want to do this. And I know I know it's for my higher good and I can make myself do it. So I coach them. I coach them every day over the phone, and that is available to them. And that is what makes a humongous difference. Because if we don't have an environment that supports our growth, we are going to give up. It's easy to give up.
Oh, it
Very
is.
easy to give up, mostly with this area where it's so challenging and so triggering. So there is that. And then the third pillar, which is super important as well, I send them training videos every week where I teach them, I mentor them how to be in a successful relationship. So that goes from boundary setting to communications to, what is attraction, all about how to be in their feminine energy, all the different aspects that makes for the right recipe to be in a successful relationship in an easy way. It's easy. They love it. I mean, I this week I think I'm going to start to share the text messages that they send me because it's I think they need to be, out there so women can see. It's fun, it's easy. Once they get the coaching and they follow the coaching, one of my clients texted me the other day and she's saying something like, I'm paraphrasing, I have never gotten as many flowers as since I'm working with you. Like, or, another one is like, okay, I went on 5 dates already and I am finally loving it. I love it, Natalia. Thank you. I am having so much fun. So it's very easy. I went myself on 200 first dates in 2 years.
Wow.
I know how to date. I know how to do it in a fun way, in a way that works for us. Because I particularly believe, and this is my belief, okay, I made this up, that dating, as most women do it until they come to work with me, was invented by men because it's totally supporting the men mind. It's setting them up for success and it's setting us up for failure after failure after failure. And after we have gotten our heart broken, certain amount of time, we all have different levels of resilience, we are going to give up because who wants to go, date and having it to be a horrible experience.
Yeah, I had to change how I saw dating, and Laura's book kinda helped me do that. I had to see it as just, I'm going to go and have an interesting conversation with somebody for an hour.
Right.
That's it. I had to take every expectation off of it, and
Right.
I had to do it often. I had to go on, like, 2 or 3 dates a week, and
Right.
I just saw it as meetup
Right. It's me.
opportunities. It's just a
Right.
chance to talk to people who are interesting, who I had at least had enough texts back and forth, to where I could see that there might be a potential that this is a person I'd wanna connect with.
Right.
Connect with for what? I don't know. And it was it was an interesting experience because I got like the array of different things where it was just somebody they were nice, but I knew there was zero attraction to they were weird to they weren't really over their ex, but there was definitely a connection there, but
Right.
they weren't really ready. And but like
Love,
you said, Natalia, I went into it this last time around before I met my husband very intentional.
right.
And I didn't play games. I didn't pretend like I didn't want a relationship. None of that. I was very clear that this was something I was doing to look for the potential of a long-term relationship. But I mean, I would have no expectations of that on a first date. Of course not. I had an expectation on a first date that we would have a happy hour drink and hang out for a half hour to an hour. And I lived downtown at the time in San Diego, and I loved it because I could just walk to
That,
some restaurant during happy hour where it was cheaper anyway. And they didn't feel any pressure. We never would get food. It would just be a meetup to have a cocktail or a soda or a drink. And talk for less than an hour or an hour. And then if it turned into something more, great. But if it didn't, it didn't. And I thought that was a lot more healthier way to approach it than I think I
right.
had in the past.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, ladies. It's high intention. Have a high intention, but a low attachment to the result. That,
Yes, I like that. A high intention, a very deliberate thing of what you want, but
yes.
know that it's going to take, I think, a long time, and
Right.
that's okay. It may take a year. It may take 6
Well,
months. You don't.
that's something that goes along with the work I do. A lot of women, they don't know reality. They don't know the numbers. The number says that any given woman, the average of dates she has to go before she meets the one, it's about 40 to 60 dates.
Mhm.
So you need to know that. Because if
Yeah,
we don't know that, we are going to go on 10 dates and we are going to be like, there is something wrong with me. Why am I attracting all these?
great point.
So, with me, my experience so far in these years of being a dating and relationship coach, it takes about, to my ladies, it takes between 2 months and 6 months to meet the one.
Yeah. And during that time, you might be going on 3 dates a week, 3 or 4 dates, but if you look at them as happy hour meetups, I mean, I'm really not a fan of somebody taking you out for dinner because
Right.
I just think that's too much of a commitment on both sides,
Yeah,
to invest, especially if it's somebody that you just don't have that connection with. So, I think that there is, like you said, a good way to do this, and thank
absolutely.
God that you're out there and that you're helping people do this. Where now tell me, where can people find you, and how would they get in touch with you?
The best way is through Instagram. I find that Instagram is show it right
Yeah,
there.
right
You
there.
have
Well,
it.
I have your link tree right here, and then I think I
Yes.
can share the screen and even go to your Instagram page. But
Thank you. So on that link tree on my bio on Instagram, there is access to, I have a private Facebook group where right now I am going live every day teaching them because I am in the middle of a project. So, and then usually I go live once a week where I coach them and I give them tips and tricks and all the things. The Facebook group is completely free, and on that link tree, yes, that's the True
website.
Love Secrets Revealed. That is an
Mhm.
online show that I am hosting right now. So if they want to go there and join it, there is still time. And then they can join my newsletter. I send a very juicy newsletter where I share a lot of value. I am not into skimping on value. And yes, and I have a YouTube channel. I am everywhere pretty much.
Yep,
So
here's your YouTube channel right here. For those of you who are listening, I'm just showing your
thank
YouTube right
you.
here. And wow, yeah, you do have. And then right here, it comes right back here to your link tree. And then I don't have the Instagram pulled up right now. I apologize. I don't think it's on here. Is it on? I tried to find it through your website, but
Okay. The Instagram is at Epic Love
right
Coach.
here, Epic Love Coach. Yep.
Epic Love Coach.
And Absolutely. In fact, I kind of went through some of these videos and some of your shorts before the show, and I found them to be very, very interesting and very insightful. So thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Teresa. Thank you.
so appreciate that. And I guess as we close out, I want to ask one last question, and that would be, what would be your advice to women who have been struggling to find love for years and years and have just given up or don't know where to turn? What would you say is the first thing they should do?
I believe the first thing to do is to get really deep and get real and
Hmm.
grab a journal and start reflecting on why you want to be in an amazing relationship with a great guy, and
Hmm.
going deep in that way. Like, why? What do I want to get out of it? How do I want to feel when I am with him? What do I want to share? What kind of experience do I want to have with him? And get really, really deep and juicy there, and see if that excites you. There is a book that you probably have read because everybody has read that book. I think it's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
I think
That
I've heard of it. I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
It's a great book. I love that book. I have done a lot of work with that book in the past, many years ago. And he says something that what really differentiates successful people, he's talking success at all levels. I'm going to take that and use it for love, this area of love and relationships. So what differentiates you, I am going to be brave and use you as an example. What differentiated you, Teresa, what differentiated me, and all the women that are successful in my coaching experience that I help is we all have a burning desire of being in a relationship. And we let go of the how to. And in love, the strategy doesn't work. That's why I don't teach. My kind of coaching is not text this, do that. No, it's about the inner work first, because it's a way of being. So when we go and reflect deeply, why do I want this? And then the second step is going to be, what kind of woman do I have to choose to be, or do I get to be in order to create what I want? That's when it comes easy. And that's when the burning desire shows up, because we get inspired and we see that it's possible. It's totally possible. If I'm going to say, if you have a deep, deep burning desire, a yearning of being in a romantic relationship with a man, or if you are in a romantic relationship with a man and it's not what you want it to be and you want to make it better, if you have those desires in you, they are there for a reason, and it's to actualize them, is to make them a reality. And it's possible. It's possible. I see it every week through my clients. It's possible. I tell them, borrow my belief. Sometimes they don't believe it themselves. I say, borrow my belief until you can build it inside of yourself. I promise you will build it. I'll help you. I'm holding your hand to get you there. So if you have that desire was put there by God, the universe, whatever you believe in, to be actualized. It's not there inside of you to make you suffer. It's there to make you get it. So listen to it. Listen to it. And if you cannot hire, I know my services are pricey, so they're not for everybody. But if you cannot hire me or another dating and relationship coach, and find a happily, and listen to every word counts here, find a happily married woman for at least 5 years. So the key word here is she has to be happily married for at least 5 years with the same man. And ask her if she can be your mentor.
That's a great idea.
And she will mentor you. And start using her as your role model. It doesn't matter if you didn't have role models in the past. You can change that story. I changed mine. I went from feeling completely unlovable. I was settling down for crumbs, for men that I liked them as friends. I loved them as friends, but I didn't have that passion, that
Yeah, I did the same
romantic
thing.
love, because I thought that that was what was available for me. And I changed it. I have been with my husband for 14 years, and I have to pinch myself because he is amazing. He's an amazing guy. He's more than I ever thought he was ever going to be. And when I met him, he was great, but he keeps stepping up to the plate.
I love it. I love it.
It's possible if I changed it, and it doesn't have to be hard. The idea of work being hard, the English language is limited. Languages are limited in general. So the idea of work usually comes with, oh my God, it's work. Oh my God. No, it's fun. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's so much fun. Sometimes I miss those times, those years that I went on all those dates because it was so much fun. I got to do so many things.
No, I hear you. I mean, I guess I can make a small metaphor with the whole skiing thing. I've been taking up skiing, and it was definitely a lot of work. But yesterday I went on another lesson, and it finally got to a point where I'm like, oh my God, this is so fun. And I saw little glimpses that it could be fun, but because there were bad habits that I was trying to get over from just learning, I just couldn't get to that point. And then yesterday I had a real breakthrough with one of the ways I was moving my knee, just something simple, but it was enough for me to go, oh, now I can control my turns. I can slow down at the traverse, when I'm going sideways, and I don't have to keep myself like this the whole time.
Right.
So, little things like that. So I think that you're right. We do have limiting words. And sometimes we have to embrace work, or we have to embrace transformation. Maybe that's a better way to say it,
Right.
than is work. But this has been such a pleasure.
You
Thank you so much for
are
taking time.
welcome. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you. I appreciate it. And, you know, I, I am so committed to creating an army of goddesses of fun and light. And this year, 2023, is the year of love. So we are almost in June. So if you want to create love, still have time. You can do it in this year. Let's have every single woman have a date for the holidays this year.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Laura, I didn't forget about your last comment. I
Oh,
do think she said we need the next level of advice to go to parents to help raise children who don't go down the path, who don't go, so they don't go down the path to feel the way women and men feel pursuing relationships when they don't feel loved. These are things I think about. And I know what she's saying. She's saying that we have to also, when we know that we have these patterns, how do we not only help ourselves, but ensure that our children don't pick up those same patterns? And I
right.
agree.
I
I,
have clients, eh, women, women. We are the universe. We are amazing creatures. I have clients every single year. I have a few clients that mothers send them to me.
wow.
They paid for it.
Right.
Okay, I have goosebumps right now
Yeah.
because actually, my husband, when I decided to go full time a few years ago doing this, he said, Uh, you should market it to mothers to send, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on their kids' colleges, getting them to be lawyers and whatever. And then they marry a jerk because they don't know how to select a good man. They need you. So one of the reasons why the statistics show that wealthy people don't get divorced as much, it's because they do select their partners with a lot of scrutiny, because they do know that in order to stay wealthy, they need to stay married.
Yeah. And
I
they have also the resources to seek the help and the care that they need for this kind of expertise. I mean, the
Right,
things.
but as I said, you can always find a mentor.
Yeah. No, like you're absolutely right.
Is
And
a will, there is a way. You cannot tell this immigrant with $750 in her pocket, with a suitcase full of sweaters in southern Florida, without speaking the language, okay? That if there is a will, there is a way. And that's the beauty of my coaching, is that I see the possibility. And there is nothing they can tell me that I will buy from them.
yeah. Absolutely. Everybody has the ability to learn something new, to change,
Be
to
creative, be resourceful. Instead of
react
thinking
differently.
all day long, oh my God, all men suck, da 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 da, think, what can I do with the resources I have to start?
Yep. Absolutely.
You know?
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to meet you backstage and go full screen just for a minute to do my closeout. But Natalia, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure.
My entire pleasure. Thank you. You are adorable, and I am so happy you're happily married. And as I said, I love your husband. Looks like a cool guy. So a
He is. He is.
dope guy that does dope things.
Yeah, he's his own person and very unique. And I
Right.
appreciate him quite
Right.
dearly. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This was a very special show. Definitely got into some deep issues here. So appreciate all of your time. And I will be seeing you, I believe, next week. And then I'll be taking some time off in June for some family travel, and maybe even changing the day that I do the show to Thursdays. But you'll hear about it. And hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye now.